Good evening, everybody. Therapy session is now in order for a Monday night. It's becoming a weekly habit, unfortunately, but I'm sure the tide will change and everything will turn around and we'll be just all okay. So I'll pop up our BSB and account number details on the screen shortly to transfer your payments for this appointment, and you can all just pay us for our services. But I hope everyone is going well. It's been a tough week as a Tiger supporter, no doubt, but I would like to give a big official welcome back to Tig71. He's jumped on board for tonight. Good to have you back, mate. Hope you're feeling well.
Yeah, thank you, guys, and thank you for the support for the guys that have reached out. Yeah, I'm dealing with concussion symptoms, and just a word on that. If you're in Twitter and you're going to knock me about concussion, I'm going to immediately block you and never unblock you again. It's really. Look, I'm getting better with it, so I'm going to see how I go with the show, but. I would never laugh at someone's medical condition, and I don't expect that treatment to be directed at myself. So if you want to be a flog, I'll treat you as one. So, but that aside, 99.9% of the audience has been really supportive, judging by the DMs and the well wishes that randomly I get. So thank you very much.
No, it's good to have you back on. And like we said before the show, you just do as much as you can do, and if it starts to get too difficult, your health comes first. So there's absolutely no questions on that front. CB, welcome, mate. How's it going?
Good, but again, reiterating everybody else's points, wonderful to have Tiggs back on the show, and we've missed him dearly. So great night. Excited to be here with Tiggs and everyone else.
Very good. And EJ, who I think is going to win the award for best background picture behind their photo for tonight. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm very well, and I'll echo the thoughts. We probably were a couple of minutes late because we were all just having a bit of a chat to Tiggs, because it is great to see him again. And it sounds, from what we've been told, it sounds bloody horrible, and just we hope that the recovery continues to progress at some level, and you're back to full rat power sooner rather than later.
Well, look, the bright side is my dick still works, so it's never that bad. You know what I mean? So that's the bright side.
Yeah,
2 minutes 30 in.
Vince, my tweet clearly said 8:30 approximately. I'll never give a guaranteed time to start a show. No, but we do apologise for being 5 or 6 minutes late. We got a bit carried away talking to Tiggs off air, because it's always good to get him back on board and just do a bit of a health check to see how he's going. So. Hope everyone else is doing well, though. Grok, welcome, mate. Hope you're doing well, buddy. But a little bit to get through tonight. There's been, CB and EJ, I know you've been chatting about some different takes on the Tigers and where we're at in the game and things like that, and maybe a few things to put into perspective for the audience, which will be interesting to hear. But we'll get stuck into the game first. Richmond, what are we? 11-12-78, defeated by the Swans, 18-14, 122 by 44 points, which is obviously a disappointing outcome, given that we were fairly close for three quarters. We obviously had one good quarter, then they got on top in the last, and Papley kind of did his thing, which is, of all players that you wouldn't want to kick 4 or 5 or 6 goals, it was probably him. But he had a bit of an interesting battle with Prestia, which was entertaining to watch with a bit of lip service. But I suppose we maybe want to do the thoughts on the game as such, CB, because you wanted to maybe kick things off in a bit of a different direction and just kind of paint a bit of a picture for the listeners on the team itself.
Yeah, did you actually get the photo? Have you got the photo ready to go that I put in the the other one?
No, I didn't have time to get that one.
Okay. So
you have to work without props.
Yeah, children and animals, mate, never working. Look, the reality is, and Tiggs will go into this point after I've just done my little thing. We need some perspective around the team that was named on Friday night, and while it was a really disappointing outcome ultimately, we need to understand what was actually on the field that Friday night. And so we've got 23 players that get named every week, yeah? Including a sub. So just to put this in perspective, on Friday night against last year's grand finalists, we actually had 9 players who've played 30 and under games, right? Our ruck division, for example, consisted of Miller, 14 games, and Samson Ryan, 5. Morris Rioli Jr., what's he played? 21. Hugo Ralphsmith, 22. Sonsi, 9. Mansell, 20. Cumberland, 12. Clark, 6. Our fullback has played a massive 4 games and is absolutely tearing it up statistically in a couple of areas too, Young. So keep that in perspective, right? In the 50 to 100 game bracket, only 4 players. In the 100 to 200, 6. 200 to 300, 3. 300 plus 1 being Jack. So it's one of the youngest teams we've put on the field for a damn long time. And it's the glass half full, glass half empty scenario. You can let them go, well, we went with the Swans for 3 quarters, which is a credit to those kids. And to be honest, mate, Judson Clark is impressing me more and more with each game. But I just want to put some numbers around the actual team that we fielded, if that's the right English I'm using, on the ground against Sydney Swans. Tiggs, do you got any thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, like I sort of mentioned just before the show, 9 kids sub 25 games. It's too much for any side. Other than GWS and Gold Coast, no team intentionally plays with 9 kids under 25 games. Now, the flippant comment might be you come back and say, well, the Swans were young too. They had, predominantly say 40 to 50 game mark, 40 to 60. That's a huge difference in experience on footy. If anyone's played footy, your ability to read the game, your footy IQ, your endurance, all that sort of stuff from sub 20 games, it's completely different from when you're at the 30 game mark to 50 game mark. You're 2 times, 3 times the player that you were when you first started. Outside of the freaks, if we park that, your number 1 Jets and all that sort of stuff outside them, but your average, to say bottom age, first round pick all the way down to your 4th round pick, they would all say that. Well, most of them would say that. The other thing too, for me, what struck out to me, the good thing about working from home, I've had a few of my mates reach out to me, obviously health check and all that sort of stuff. A few of them in the industry. And I had a couple of good conversations today because, one thing, they want to cheer me up. So we look like a team that has worked on a system of ball movement, trying to change core functions within the team's mechanics in relation to how we move the footy, particularly from midfield to forward to protect the back line because we got exposed, obviously, that last year, and it's not working. You've got players that are not playing to instinct. You've got players that are handballing to thinking they have to handball as it's an instruction, all that sort of stuff. So that's a real concern. That's more concern to me than the injuries we've got. Because one thing I know with the club that we have, and we've all seen it, once our game plan is bedded down and it's working, we can get a chain of wins. We always have shown it in the past, even with incredibly young sides, because we've got a really good coach and we've got good coaches. That's why I don't pay into, let's sack Dimmer, the coaches are shit, all that sort of stuff. They're not. They've tried something and it hasn't come off. And it probably hasn't come off because we don't have the cattle that they thought we would have to actually play that system. So I reckon they'll adjust it as the troops start coming back and then bring it back out to probably the latter half of the year. So I'm probably the only one here in this forum. Do I think our season's shot? No, I don't. Right? I personally don't. I've seen it too often where people have written us off and we've gone on and played finals. Do I think we'll win the flag? No. Right? I'd love to be wrong. But do I think we're a finals quality side? Yes. But we have to address our system of ball movement because at the moment we look like a bottom 4 side. We cannot hit targets. And I asked my good mate that's been in the industry for 15 years, why can't we hit a target? He said, your players are going in the wrong positions. The kickers thinking the players should be going to here and they're going to the opposite spot. And that's what's making them look foolish. And they'll be well aware of that. So, at the end of the day, it is what it is.
AJ, any further thoughts to add to that?
Yeah. I saw a couple of comments, which I will address as well. We don't have the cattle at the moment. Not only we say we've got a lot of injuries and we're playing a lot of kids. You look at the VFL side, they only had 3 AFL listed players able to front up this week. So we're thin on the ground. I do believe we are changing our game plan. And so, yes, at the moment, some of those errors, particularly in the back half, they look deplorable. It will right itself over time. But there are a couple of blokes One, I think he's getting old before our eyes, and I did maybe mention him pre-season. He's now probably third or fourth in line in the back line, and that Grimes, he's lost that half a step, and it's noticeable. But Lucas J put up a comment a little while back about Vlosten. I don't know what he's doing at the moment, but he's not playing how he used to play. I'm really hesitant to say this because I don't want to whack a bloke, but it looks like he's trying to find shortcuts. He's not, he's sheepdogging around the back. He's not committing 100% to the contest in the effort of thinking, oh, if it spills, I'll be here sort of thing. I think it's mindset. I don't think it's age or ability with Vlosten. I think it's mindset, but at the moment, he's horribly out of form, and a lot of the clangers in the first few weeks have come from his hand or foot. And it's very, very frustrating. And someone else put, and we had this chat today, CB, we're looking forward, and you're going to talk about some other stuff in a minute, and someone else has put Bakes for captain. And I'm a hard agree. I think we should, and we can't do it in the middle of the season, but Grimes has indicated he wants to go on for one more year, and as a fourth option in a back line and as a backup, he'll work. But let's take that burden of the captaincy off him and free him up.
Yeah.
I actually think the defence so far this year is what's kept us in games.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Right, so,
but Grimes has still lost that half a yard.
Yeah, but Grimes is still more often than not beating his man, and his one-on-one contests will show that. What I think is happening is our midfield, this is my personal belief, our midfield is so dysfunctional at the moment, they're not connected, they're playing as individuals, particularly the way they space up on the ground, right? The way that they form in the centre square, they're too inside. It's like everyone's trying to get the ball. There's no outside coverage. So the amount of ball going into our forward 50, you know what I seriously believe what happened on the weekend? Bolter had a record worst game. Vlosten had his record worst game. Grimes had a poor game. I reckon they've got footy fatigue. I reckon they're going, okay, this is a serious problem. What do we do to protect our back line? And they're trying to do shit and they're trying to do too much. And a part of that, I'm not saying all of it, and I'm not disputing your point. Yeah, he's now, Father Time will catch up to all players. But for me, if I had to pick our back line, my first pick still would be Bolter. My second pick will be Grimes before Broad.
You said something very interesting there.
Yeah.
The midfield mix.
Yeah.
I think we've now got the right tools, but I agree. I don't know if they're being used in the right way. If you're putting Prestia, Hopper, and Taranto in there at the same time, they're all going ball. They're all inside. Mm-hmm. You haven't got someone who's running for space, someone who's laying a block. You haven't got that sacrificial sort of midfielder in there or the defensive midfielder in there. You've got three see-ball, get-ball types. We've overloaded on the fact that we needed to address contest. And, yeah, you're right. I think on quite a few occasions our balance is wrong. And it's not ability that's seeing us get smashed in centre clearance. It's setup.
Can I highlight Bok Choi's comment? Can you just highlight it for me, Michael's 850? Then I'll shut up, CB, and you can talk.
No.
Now, that's exactly what I think is happening to Grimes and Vlosten at the moment, particularly without Broad. They can't play their natural game, right, which their backline's been built on. So, you know when you go in with one decision and you change your mind halfway through the action, you look like an idiot? You look like you haven't committed to the contest. You fumble because you've got two choices in your head. That's what's happening to Vlosten, I think, particularly on Friday night. But that's what's happening to the two of those boys. They're trying to do too much. Yeah, good point. Bok Choi, I agree with you.
It's a good point you all made about with the ages and all that, CB. And I do agree it's a bit of rare ground to have that many young players, but I still find it hard to accept the poor quality of skills on display and the basic turnovers. And I'm okay with it from the younger players. It's the experienced guys that it really winds me up a bit. Like the kick-ins from Grimes and Vlosten that were just blatant turnovers. Dusty didn't have his best kicking shoes on, but I mean all the senior guys were kind of failing on that front, and that's probably the piece that bugged me a little bit the most. And I'm happy for the young kids to be getting game time because I think a lot of them actually showed their wear and show they kind of belong. But I still think it doesn't excuse the skill level for some of the players because to me, it's an easy fix. Like, just hit your targets. And we just seem to be wasting quite a lot of opportunities and get scored against heavily.
Oh, can I just say something that's been irritating me a little bit too? All these people now bitching that we don't have a first-round draft pick. If we didn't have Taranto and Hopper in that midfield mix this year, what do you reckon the score lines would actually read? What, you reckon if we didn't have Taranto and Hopper in there this year, we stick Dusty, Cochin, and a couple of others, we'd be getting slaughtered. Tim Taranto's numbers, don't listen to SEN. It is fucking junk. Get that shit off your radios. If you look at Taranto's numbers, hang on, Edge, you'll get your go in a minute. If you look at Taranto's numbers, right, he's actually nearly our best friggin' on baller. And if Hopper, if Hopper didn't get into that one game, his numbers have been fantastic as well. They're not the problem. They are not the problem. And our first round draft pick is garbage. And if you look at, we're going to bring up a slide and a tick to show you exactly why getting Taranto and Hopper was an astute get when we're looking forward in about 2025 to 2028, when you look at the age profile of our list. I'll shut up now. Go ahead.
And I'll back that up with
I want to back you up. This media crap about Taranto, right? LT or at Boris Ping Pong on Twitter. I'll credit him. All right. So according to Corn, Taranto's the worst. He's a clanger king. He's the worst disposal or whatever. Here are some facts. Let's not listen to the media narrative. Here are some facts. He is AFL number 5 for pressure acts. He's AFL number 10 for total disposals. He's AFL number 6 for tackles. He's AFL number 3 for defensive half pressure acts. All top 10 in the AFL. Not 10 midfielders or anything. Top 10 in the AFL. He's AFL number 17 for clangers with Green, Danger, Wines, Oliver, Kelly, Bont, Cogs, Petraka, Miller, Rao, and Cripps all above him. They're all above him.
Say it again? Say what? How come I don't read that in the papers or see Kane talk about that? That's amazing.
Right. So it is a media beat up. So the only reason I was raising my hand was to give you those figures just to back up what you were saying. Now I'll shut up.
Now, the thing is with those two lads too, what people don't seem to get, right? Football clubs don't manage teams on a 12-month season, right? They generally have a 5-year. They keep on getting extended by a year as a year ticks off, first year drops off, if that makes any sense. I just tell everyone, not this off-season, but next off-season, that show, it all makes sense. You'll see that why we got our midfield fixed now, then you'll see our forward line reinforced, and then it's I'm hearing a defender in the mix as well. This club is being managed better than anything I've ever seen. I know I'm a Richmond man, but I've seen a lot of shit with Richmond, better than I've ever seen the club run, particularly from what I'm hearing. And the other thing, the last point, do not listen to Kane, you're a flawed Corns. If you want to listen to someone that sort of knows about football but can't commentate for shit, is Nathan Buckley, right? One of the guys, TT gave me a link, so I listened to a bit of it, and his points were valid. You know, we're playing to a system at the moment, we're being pig-headed by it, which is hurting us. Our disposal is poor, which is costing us. But what's frightening, if you want to look at the other hard glass half full, when it all clicks, we shredded Western Bulldogs. We shredded Sydney, who just kicked points instead of goals. Right? Keep in mind, we had 2-7 or 1-8 or whatever it was in that second quarter. It's just we kept on kicking behinds to their 4 goals. So once it clicks, I'm pretty confident we will get there. It's just that our team, we're going to lose this year. We're probably going to lose. I hope we don't lose Jack. I reckon he can go for another year. But we're going to lose Cochin, right? If Grimes, I didn't hear that about Grimes. I thought Grimes actually might pull the pin because of his business, from what I heard. But if he stays another year, great. But we have to get games into these kids. We have to do it, and that's what we're going through. But we've got to have the game plan to support these kids. And just one last thing, and I'll shut up. It's not the only reason Michaels, I think this. Yeah, they're playing comical disposal, mate. Seriously, it's not good enough. But in saying that, the reason they're turning the ball over as well, part of it is the players they're kicking to are too far up the ground. The players they're kicking to aren't in the spot where Vlosten and Grimes are used to kicking. See, this is the thing. Why is it our experienced players making the errors? Because they're used to kicking one way, kicking to a system all the time, and people, the new blood, aren't following it all the time. So hence the kicks go into fucking turnovers and as they try to check the kick and all that sort of stuff. So we've got highlights, though. We've got our kids, Pickett. There's a lot of good stuff we'll talk about later.
Yeah, agree. I will say quickly, I won't say the name, but I've heard the name.
He's not a target. Just kill that rumour. It's not happening.
That's AFL.com dribble.
It's rubbish.
What was that one? The Himmelberg one?
It's rubbish. It's not. We're not even in conversation. We've got our forward target.
The name that you have, I've actually heard from a couple of different people who are also in a similar spot to yourself, Tig. So it's one of those, for me, where there's smoke, there's fire. So
it's King. Yeah, King will be at Richmond. No. I'm not going to do the Lynch call yet, but from everything I've heard, it's really fucking strong that we think we're in a prime spot. Because normally, if we were going to lose at CB, we would switch target already, and then noise will come about it. Right? That hasn't happened, which is great.
Yeah, I just want to see us play more consistently over the 4 quarters, because it's all good and well to kick 8 goals in a quarter, but then to kick 1 or 2 across the next 3 is what the most frustrating part is. If we even play 2 quarters of good football, we'd actually probably win more than we'll lose. But I think we have to celebrate a couple of players from that game against the Swans. Firstly, Jack Riewoldt, 4 goals, a nasty, nasty gash in the head, and he obviously had to play, wind back the clock a little bit and play the main man, CB, with Tommy Lynch out. And I thought in the second half, he looked like he got a bit more of a spring back in his step, but I thought his game was really, really good.
Yeah, father time, hey? He, look, admittedly, I only saw the first 3 quarters, so I saw the best part of the game, and then I went to a concert, so I actually missed the destruction in the last 30 minutes. But it was wonderful to see Jack move the way he did. And as we've discussed previously on the show, like how we want to manage the old blokes. Imagine what that week off could do for a guy like Trent Cotchin, who just can't quite get that break yet. But the other thing is, Jack's a bit of a bleeder, isn't he? He bled like a stuck pig.
That was a decent sized cut in his head there.
Evan Staples didn't even get a free kick for head high.
When does he get a free kick, mate?
I actually still couldn't tell the point of which the contact was made to his head. It all kind of meshed into one, but it must have got him just flush. That was ugly. EJ, the other one who I think we need to celebrate, and you did clip this bloke early on in his debut for his defensive work, but Noah Cumberland, not for the goals he kicked, he got 2 goals, but 8 tackles, game high, and I think it was 20 odd pressure acts, which was up there as well. I was highly impressed with Cumberland's defensive work for the game. Even up until the last siren, he was diving at people trying to smother, chasing, tackling. You could tell it was the sign of someone who'd been given instructions of things to work on, and he's trying to put his best foot forward. You
had to ask me, didn't you? That bust.
That wasn't intentional until I got about a quarter of the way through saying, I thought, I've done this well here. I've actually said it out nicely.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's bought in, and he did go back because of his defensive deficiencies. We all know that. It's actually been spelt out by the club, so it's not a surprise. But if he's going to put in that off the ball work on a regular basis, like he's a must pick. And yes, he did all of that fantastic, 8 tackles, all that sort of stuff. But what you can see when we are the attacking side is he's just a footballer. He knows where to run. He knows where to give it. He knows when not to give it. He's a natural footballer.
What I like about his work when we're on a quick counter attack, if he marks it 70 out, he's not dicking around waiting for them to get 20 blokes behind the ball. He's turning and going and giving us, whoever that deepest forward is, he's giving them a genuine one-on-one opportunity, and I love that.
Yeah. Lucas Jay's made a good point.
Lucas, this one, Mansell?
Mansell's been good. He's been
That's
more
my boy. That's my boy. I was hoping I could highlight him. Like, and I've been on his wagon since the day we drafted him. EJ, I've been on his wagon. People don't rate him, but I do.
I feel like he's almost split the Tiger community. There's been, like, I've seen a lot of stuff about people wanting him out of the side in favour for whoever else we've got in the sheds. But I think he's one of those players who can play at both ends. Like, he can play a half-back role if we need him to, and he can play that smaller forward role as well.
Well, the hardest position in the game to play, people say it's half forward, right? It's not. It's utility, particularly if you're a medium or a small. That's the hardest role you can play. Because one, there's three different roles you have to master. It's high forward, wing, and defend, and small backman, right? So he's only played 20 games, right? What people don't see, what I celebrate. I don't celebrate his disposals because that's not why he's on the ground. But he creates scores for other players. He makes other players better around him. Some of his unrewarded blocking, pressuring the actual kicker, blocking space, all the stuff that George got premierships for, but without the chaos and everything, he's doing it. There was one contest on the Sydney's back line. They were clear. They were straight. He had his man. He was about 15 metres away and he ran into the pocket and did the tackle and made a spill and created a stoppage, which ended up leading to a Tiger goal. That was like in the third quarter. And this kid was rarely benched, right? If you compare his time on ground compared to the other kids. His work rate's been great. That's why when people say they don't see the talent in him, it frustrates me because we're saying to him, we want you to actually play the complete team game. And that's what he's brought into it. And I always love a kid that has that mongrel aspect, that doesn't like to be beaten. And when someone gobs off, if you can do a cheeky elbow or a thing, he had me at hello. But can we talk about the discipline?
Yeah, I was going to ask. Yeah, I was going to get a round-the-table thought on the discipline as Grox put up there. Shea Bolton, I mean, I don't know why he felt the need to do that. Vlossen gave away dumb one as well. I was a little bit unsure about Camden's 50 metres. I'm not sure if that was something else that happened rather than him. I couldn't really spot it, CB. But these are the things that we can control. And I know EJ and Tiggs, we all spoke about it over the last God knows how many years. But these are coach killers. Like, the momentum shift that can happen from these moments in football are crazy. And they're things that these players can control. No one's holding a gun to their head saying you must lash out like this, you must do that. Why do they keep doing it? How do we fix it?
We always complain we get a shit run with the umpires, and statistics show us that we do get a bad run with the umpires. But by geez, we make their job so much easier when we do dumb, undisciplined acts and justify their so-called maybe bias against us. You know what I mean? We just do ourselves no favour. And to be honest, I don't know how we address it because I'm sure it's not coached. The Dimmer tells the players to go out there and plough people in the back or sling them after it. You know what I mean? Like I know, what do they say? We like our players to play on the edge. Okay, but so do 17 other teams. How come they seem to not have the issues that we have? And I just don't understand it.
I reckon they don't have the issues we have is because they're not wearing Richmond jumpers. And if I can explain that point, look, first of all, the ill-discipline with Shy, he would have been spoken to, and I don't see him repeating that for a while. We're making really – what I also constitute as ill-discipline is the stupid decision-making that you can tell it's not part of the game plan, that we've just decided to do something that really just does my head, a block where we shouldn't block, that has no advantage to the team, and then it gets pinged on. But the thing is, for me, I'm about done with it now where – I don't know, people talk about the theory of the bias, but Richmond would have the one side that gets told to play on quicker than any other side in the competition. As soon as we take a mark, a couple of steps, play on. That's not an illusion. That actually happens. So I reckon what it is with us is our guys know they're very prideful. Even their words have said, we're going to show people what we can do. They're all confident they're going to hit the ground running. It's gone pear-shaped with the injuries we've got, our performance on the field, all these turnovers would be. Imagine how we're feeling. Imagine the players that are on the ground. You know what I mean? Seeing it, particularly if you're a backline player. So that's what I reckon. Once our form lifts, the discipline will go away. winning hides the cracks. You know that saying? I reckon because we're so dreadfully bad, you can see it a lot more. But look, that doesn't forgive Shy. That was stupid. If it was me, I would not play him next week, regardless of the injuries. But that's, I don't run the club, so.
And EJ, your take on our discipline issues on field?
Oh, I'm just sick of it. I haven't got much to add. I'm just sick of it. We say it time and time again. It's a controllable. I'll just leave it at that.
Caesar's upset as well. Tiggs.
He doesn't like.
No, that's Diesel. That's
Diesel.
He's
you've got a Carlton dog.
No.
You're
Vin Diesel.
Magpie 71.
Carlton
71, and you've got a Carlton dog.
He's Vin Diesel. My boys love Vin Diesel. So, and I didn't want to call him X because that's, I don't want to get someone cutting me, that's binary. And
Yeah.
but he's a beautiful dog.
All right. CB, you wanted to do some discussion and list analysis per the tweet that you shot through on PM. I'll bring that up now. Are you happy for me to do that to start the basis of your discussion?
Yeah, I'll chuck it up. I mean, it's just what we're saying here is when you look at the age profile, and I know we got sold this year with Taranto Hop Up, the swan song, going for a flag, what have you. But in reality, when you look at the two blokes we've brought in for our midfield and what we've got around them, we're actually, this list won't peak until about 2025 to 2028. So I guess the question is, we'll call it the dimmer coaching clock. What I want to know from the audience is, are we at 2011 or are we at 2015? Where do people think this list is sitting before we have another serious run at it? Because the next couple of years, it's not going to happen. But if we can get games into these kids now, by 2025, they're going to be in that 50 to 100 game category, which will be absolutely critical for this club moving forward. That's all I wanted to show, which is a bit of data, just to show the age of some of these blokes run around. And even then, that list is still missing guys like Graham and others as well. So that's all. Thoughts, Tim?
Interesting.
AJ?
Yeah, sorry, I was just writing that comment. Yes, I do think Hardwick's got another 7 years if he wants to, but he's got to be in the right frame of mind. Oh, look, personally, I think we're at 2014, 2015. I think it's 2 to 3 years. I don't think it's 5 years or 6 years. I think the core of the next team is already there. And whilst we might get frustrated at the moment with the mistakes and stuff like that, we're getting, we all talk about Clark's disposal. We all talk about how smooth Sonza is. We're talking about Cumberland's footy smarts, Rioli off halfback. We know there's quality there. Bolter is going to be a pillar. Gibcus is going to be a pillar. So I don't think it's as far away. It's never as far away as you think it is.
That segues to me. I'm actually different from everyone else. I actually think we're in 2016 at the moment. And the reason for that too is there's names like you mentioned that aren't on that list. You got your Grahams in there. It was Daniel. I don't know if Daniel Rioli was in there as well. So we've got Jaden Short's another one. So we've got quality medium players that aren't playing at the moment. And other players that are in that 27, 28 age bracket that will be going on for 4 or 5 years that add real value now. So for me, the reason why I think it's 2016, I think with the injuries we've got, a lot of kids in a lot more games than what they're supposed to. Also, too, is I don't undersell the value we have. People questioning Dimmer as you got the passion. When this guy's angry, when he's biting heads off, that's when his best coaching comes in. Just go watch his pressure. I actually did this a bit this morning. You can, on the AFL app, you can go 2016 season. Watch his presses. Watch him, how angry he is. So generally, I've got a lot of faith in Damien. I've got a lot of faith in the coaches we have and the talent we've got in the side. And particularly our top-end talent. If we can get them – look, the reality is they're all medium injuries, right? We're going to probably get Jaden Short back soon. We'll get a few back before the bye. But I reckon by round 13, round 14, they'll all start bleeding in. Lynch, even though he's a champion and we win a lot of games with him, not having him hurts but doesn't kill us because we have got Jack. I reckon Jack can really simplify the forward line, and we showed a bit of that on Friday. Once more quality ball use gets in there and the smalls start to get more developed. So, no, I'm not as bleak. I think we'll make finals this year. I think we'll make finals next year. We're trying to be the Geelong model where we don't completely bottom out, wait 2-3 years and then reset. We're trying to target free agency to bring in elite talent, adverse to, and trying to keep, by doing the free agency, if we can save a first-round pick 2 of every 4 years, we will, to regenerate with some kids and then motor along that way. That's how I think the game, the strategy we're doing, and we're just year 3 into it. So, yeah.
I'm not sold on playing finals this year now. We're not playing good enough for long enough at this stage. And before, once we get numbers back and we start to click and hopefully Dimmer tweaks a few things and we get that down pat and it works, by the time that all happens, the race will be done and we'll be too far behind and it's too hard to play catch up. I know it's still only early, but based on available form at the moment, we don't look like anywhere near, like we've got Melbourne this week, which we'll obviously touch on later, but that's on a rebound. With still a lot of players out for us, that's not a good position to be in. I just think by the time we get all these players back and up to the speed they need to be, I think we will have copped too many losses and not. You need to rack up wins early to be any chance. It's like biggest teams who we didn't think were going to win games, like St Kilda, Essendon are up there. Like they're already streets ahead of us. So if they drop a handful of games, they're still above us.
Can you do me a favour? Can you highlight Joe B's comment 9-12? It's a good one. The one about lacking speed. Speed is all related to ball movement. At the moment, our ball movement's broken, but when it works, we look fast. Go watch the second quarter. What is the second or third quarter against the Bulldogs where we just kicked 8 goals the last 10 minutes, and we did it in a 10-minute block. We kicked 6 goals in 4 minutes, and most of them were back end goals to forward 50. And we bypassed our poor midfield transition. Speed's not an issue for our side. But you're right, Michaels. Do we look like a top 4 side? No. Do we look like a final side? In fits and spurts. So if we don't get that consistency, we'll finish 15th, 16th. I'm not naive to that. But do I think St Kilda will stay in the top 8? No. Do I still think Essendon will stay in the top 8? No. I think there's aberrations going at the moment. And then one of the comments I got from a couple, why don't we play the old game plan? Everyone else seems to be playing it. Kick to possession and then swarm and cover. Dimmer's trying to go the next level up. That's what I think. And it's just not working with the cattle we've got. So I wouldn't be surprised if we switch tack to that and start doing the old Richmond style for a while just to stabilise us and to build confidence. My biggest concern is, have we forgotten how to win?
It feels that way.
Yeah, we've lost close games. I think outside of Friday and I think the Magpies game, they were more greater than 10 points. Other than that, I think it was round 6 last year. Every game we've lost was under 10 points. So that scares the shit out of me. Have we lost the confidence to close out close games?
Struggletown.
We'll find out.
Struggletown, we were the wet weather side, but
we were.
Wet weather football is also a game played by mature bodies, and back to the point of so many players young, to stay over the strength over the ball in wet weather, it's a lot harder to achieve with a young side.
Exactly.
I don't think we've lost our ability to play in the wet. It's just a matter of being beat up by stronger sides.
CB, the other player I want to ask you about, Samson Ryan. He probably had a bit of a 50-50 game where he was almost very good, but dropped a couple of marks. And I'm not going to hang him for it because that's inexperience. It was a wet ball, all that kind of stuff. But I actually really like his actual pure ruck work and his endeavour, and he's getting to the right spots. I think he's definitely showing us there's something to work with here.
He's 5 games into an AFL career at 20 to 21 years of age, whatever it is.
They started coming to their own, the big man, a little bit later on.
He's 20 years of age, and he's our number 1 ruck due to injury, to put it in perspective. So he's like a lot of the kids, lacking consistency, yet there are patches when you watch these guys go about it and you go, I can see it. I can see what the coaches see. And people in the comments have already discussed, like they see Sonzi do something or they see Judson Clark do something. And I see the same with Samson Ryan. And I just think we have to stay the course with Ryan. Well, we've got these injuries. Cumberland, Ryan, Miller, Hugo, all these guys. We've got to keep them in and just pump the games in to see who will be the long-term players for this club and who won't be.
I've liked him.
Was that?
I've liked him. I think he's left a very good impression.
I mean, put it this way, for the people who are saying, "Oh, give him a spell," what are you bringing in with the injuries you've got? Bradkey's got a busted hand. He may play in Rezzies this week. We are that down on. I think we've got 15 on the injury list. So,
well, as I said, we only had 3 AFL players playing the VFL on the weekend.
Yeah. Our depth has been cut in half. No, our depth is fucking guillotined. But look, I'll put my hand up. I was really worried about Ryan with his VFL form the last 2 years. I was really worried because as a ruck, he wasn't doing much, and as a forward, his timing was all over the shop, right? And I thought he's just really got drafted for his height. But he's proved me wrong. See, the hardest thing for a forward to do is actually get their hands on the ball when it's in flight. So that's what I'm pleased about. Those clunking the marks will happen as he gets his strength, but he's actually getting his hands on the ball under contested marks too, which is rare for a ruckman. How often do you see ruckmans? Even our Nankervis, doesn't always get the big clunkers. He's got a lot of Benny Gales to me about it. Take the body shape out, but you know how Benny Gale, his hands were like cement to me. As soon as he always would go for a mark up high, right? Always go and take that clunk. That's what Ryan does. He always goes up with the 2 hands. But I just, proud of the kid. He's proved a lot of people wrong, including myself. He's definitely got a future.
Yeah.
All right, we will take a look towards the game on Monday night. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Because
can we get Pickett some love before we go? Pickett?
Yeah, we can
I think he's been
some love
with Taranto and Hopper. I reckon Pickett's been one of our better players for the whole season.
I think I would like to actually see, I know structurally it can be hard, but I'd like to see him as that defensive-minded midfielder in the middle at some point. I think he would maybe do that role quite well, but I don't want to compromise the wings as well because we know that he's very important to that part of the ground. But yeah, agree. Pickett has been, he's cracking in hard. He marks taller than what he actually is. His ability to go back with the fly to the ball and actually make a contest of someone who should be in free space to mark it on the wing. He's been very good.
Last thing, can you just highlight Matt Meehan's? I want to give CB a Woody, and this will happen because I know CB. I'm going to get the credit to CB. 919, the one, Ryan, what is he, CB? Number 4 in defensive one-on-ones contest. He has.
No, you're thinking of Young. You're thinking about Young. He's talking about Ryan, Samson Ryan.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Ryan, you're right, Matt. We'll see how Ryan goes. But Young, we've got to give him credit. He's a bloody jet. He doesn't lose a one-on-one contest. And what I actually saw that I haven't seen, but on Friday night, even though we lost, when we were even Stevens with Sydney, he was taking the game on. Starting to peel off this man and engage the secondary contest, which we need someone of his size to do. So, we've got a really good one.
Yeah.
Is Matt Meehan related to our fitness guru?
Oh, a good question. Yeah. I hadn't thought of that. That's a good question, EJ. All right, we'll start taking a look at the Melbourne game. And it's a weird one because the game isn't actually until next Monday where we would usually do a show. But obviously we're not going to do that because we'll all be watching the game. But the D's coming off a loss. No. Did they lose?
Yeah, a loss.
Yeah, they did. They lost. It's just, I see this one.
It's a loss to Essendon.
Essendon, that's right.
Yeah. I was in the pub with my mate's birthday. Essendon were actually really good. I hate saying that. Feel filthy.
I was watching Sale versus Bairnsdale on the Clutch app on Sunday. So I watched zero AFL. I watched some local footy on TV. It was great.
So it's going to be, you don't want Melbourne at the best of times because, they're a pretty decent side over the last handful of years, but them off the rebound is going to be a big challenge for us. There's no two ways about it, especially with the shape our list is in currently. Before we talk about the game as such, though, what are we thinking changes-wise? Do we see any massive changes heading our way, EJ? A few people have flagged that Short might be available to come back in.
I did say in the chat before the game, it's the vibe, it's Marbo. I wasn't bringing much in the way of stats tonight because I'm on a plane at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, so I'm a little bit less prepared than normal. I'll be in Bali smashing bintangs when this game's on next week. So,
in Curta with his Aussie flag draped around his shoulders. Aussie.
Yeah,
Can't
so,
see you on the news, mate.
Oh, by the way, EJ, I've sent you that link you asked me to send about the ladyboy clubs. So,
and that tribal tattoo you want, mate? I've sent you the design to get your sleeves done. You look
the
fantastic.
pricing's actually it's not too bad, mate. But you go
So
for
we
it.
think, that
Shaw
Shorty
comes
might
in.
come back in.
Yeah. I don't think there's that many more available.
Yeah,
no
because
one.
well,
Who
yeah,
do you
Ross
take
might
out?
be the only one, but I don't know. You'd almost be happy to go in unchanged, as weird as that sounds after a 44-point loss, CB. But I think a little bit of it is what do we have left to come in, and because the guys who would have come in for the blokes who got injured also got hurt themselves, so we're kind of a little
I've
bit
heard a strong
hamstrung
rumour
there.
that Prestia's injured. That Prestia's
Nick's
sore, really sore, and he's
Nick's
been playing
hearing-
sore.
Okay. We can't really afford to rest him, but Nick's hearing that Banks might get a game.
Yeah, I'm thinking Banks or Ross and maybe Morris Rioli Jr. comes out. You know, it's just a question of who goes to sub. Maybe Cochin goes back to sub and they try and give him a bit of a breather as well because he's playing sore as well from what I'm understanding.
You got everything? You haven't left anything?
What have you made? Oh, no, I won't backtrack.
For me, minimal changes. Professional show here. I would just say maybe 1 in, 1 out. I'm not sure on short. I've seen some comments about maybe rucking Pickett, but good luck Pickett against Grundy, and if Gawn comes in, he'll get destroyed. We need to play 2 big blokes, and it's going to have to be Miller and Ryan. It can't be any other way.
Sorry, my wife's got Tourette's.
In point of fact, I would almost, it's funny when we talk about Vlosten, I would almost put Pickett behind the ball and give us a bit of extra grunt and drive, and I'd almost swap Vlosten out and maybe put him on a wing or something, get him out of there, and let Pickett do some damage behind the pill, see what he can do.
I want Pickett in the forward line. I would, if we're going to bring Banks in, put Banks in the wing and I reckon Pickett as that medium leading towards target, trying to create some pressure. But look, our hands are tied, really. I think this would be the perfect dimmer. It's Anzac. All right, guys, we're beaten up, we're bruised, just like the Anzac were in Gallipoli. You know, there's a story there, you know, just beat your man. That's going to be the whole thing, beat your man. And he'll leave he does shirts and leaves them little rocks to write their name. No. He's just going to leave a 7.62 millimeter bullet in each one with a player's name on it. That sort of thing is what I'm hearing. I would not be surprised. I wouldn't say you would, Amo, but
the other one, Jigs, is I'd like to see Baker become part of the midfield mix to break it up a bit as well.
Look, I think we have to persist with the midfield we've got. Like at the end of the day, it's elite and it's quality. What I think they're just being, the instructions are poor. They've been, at the moment, I don't think Preston knows how to work with Taranto and Taranto doesn't know how to work with Koch. The only way they get that vibe together is with their playing together. So, when they got drafted, I think I said in one of our first shows, it's going to take about round 8 to mesh, right? Because you got to understand, 2 new players in midfield is 50% of your starting midfield. That is a big change. So we've just got to allow it run its course. Back to coaching in, back to instruction in. I will say, however, I don't know who our skills coach is. If anyone knows our skill coach, please tell me who it is, because that person needs to be replaced.
Oh, look, okay, I'll resign this week.
Yes. EJ, sorry, mate. Got to go, son.
Are you telling me my game plan of bomb it long and sit it on a forward's head doesn't work?
You know what's funny, though? I was screaming. I was tweeting in a furious manner. Forget what we're trying to do. Just do the old-fashioned kick it to space and just swarm the ball. You know what we used to do in the good old days? Maybe go back to a bit of that. I don't know.
Or we could play Costanza ball. Whatever you think you should do the opposite and it'll work out.
Just chaos. How are we going to go about curtailing their midfield? They've obviously got Clayton Petraka. Viney goes through there. Who else? Is Pickett playing this week? I'm not sure where he's at. But Brayshaw, they bat deep, and they're, as much as it kills us, they're pretty handy footballers and they're hard at it. It's going to be a tough one, CB and EJ.
I just don't see us. I don't see us getting the chockies, mate. I know it's a pro Richmond show, but I'm being a realist. I just don't see us getting the chockies this Monday night. I just think the only chance we have is we have to change the mix because we've discussed it and it's correct. We've got too much of the one type in at one time. So I think they need to be creative, inventive, and start Baker or Bolton in the middle at the start. Don't have Prestia, Hopper, and Taranto on the pill at the same time. They need to get some variation in and a bit of speed, a bit of outside run around it, is my thoughts.
One thing I noticed that was interesting last week against Sydney, and I'll be fascinated to see if we do it this week, especially with Gawn and Grundy in ruck for Melbourne, is that Ryan didn't start ruck. We had Miller in there as our starting ruckman from the first bounce, and I thought that was just a really interesting move, being how undersized he was already. Do you think, EJ and Tiggs, do you replicate that move against the quality of Gawn and Grundy, or do you have to say to Samson Ryan, hey, mate, you've got to be the number one man this week. You're going to have to go toe-to-toe with the big fellas?
I don't think it matters what we do. When it comes to the ruck, I don't think it matters what we do. I think we almost concede the ruck and try and even up in other parts of the ground.
Is Gawn actually playing?
I thought he was, but someone just said that Gawn's out. I thought that Maxi was playing.
No, I thought he was
still. He's still out.
He's still there. He may be back this week.
Yeah, I heard that
he's recovering pretty well.
Okay, so he might be 50-50.
He's not playing. If he's not playing, I'd go. Ryan's our best ruck. So we get Soldo and Ankin. He's our number one. So play your number one. But I'm not as bleak in the midfield as the other two blokes. I actually think this is probably a good midfield to go up against. Petrarca's not lightning fast. Oliver's not lightning fast.
Did you watch the preseason game, Tiggs? They torched us.
Yeah, but they torched us more on a couple of things, I think. More in the sense they're playing their home ground. It was a preseason game. I don't put anything onto the preseason. For me, their midfield's as quality of probably Carlton's midfield in a sense. One, and how the way they're playing at the moment, they haven't hit their straps yet. Two, their speed is probably equal to about Carlton level, which is a pretty good midfield. And we more than match Carlton's midfield. We beat it in some regards. And we've come up against good midfields. And outside the media hoopla, the only real one that we lost our colours on was against Western Bulldogs. And we were matching it with Sydney till the last quarter disaster. So, look, I actually think with Melbourne in the midfield, we might, we should be able, we have confidence to take them on.
The weather is saying 23 degrees and sunny in Melbourne on next Monday.
Yeah.
I heard 32 and humid. Oh, sorry, that's where I'll be.
Oh, subtle brag. Very good. What about the
low,
D's
man.
forward?
That's low.
It's very good. It's very good. The D's forward line, mainly their bigger players. I think Bailey Fritsch probably poses the biggest threat, and I think he's still a little bit underrated throughout the competition. I think he's a really difficult matchup, CB, and he actually would have been the perfect player for Broad to take, ironically, but we also don't have that luxury. I think he's got a bit too much toe for Grimes, but do you use someone like a Bolter on him? And this is where Josh Gibcus would be a bloody good inclusion at some stage.
No, I don't see you put Bolter on Bailey Fritz. I don't know. I just can't see us getting over this. I mean, I'd almost do you put Vlosten on him. We're just Broad being out. This is where Broad being out really, really hurts us. Is this matchup, this type of matchup? I don't know. Does Grimes have Loston for mine?
Oh, that's a good call, Grok. That Bolts will probably take Big Ben Brown if he's in.
That's right.
Well, he was laid out last week.
Yeah, do you know why? I'm not sure. I couldn't see him on the list, but I wasn't sure what the nature of his omission was. But no, Aline, I think that's a harsh call on Bolter. He's not useless. He's a young kid learning his craft. He's had some good games. He'll have some bad games, but I think he was probably victim of a team bad game as well. And as we sort of mentioned earlier, the defensive unit has been massively under the pump, a ridiculous amount, and it probably stood reasonably tall, all things considered. And when, like how we play against teams, if you get enough inside 50s, you're probably going to score eventually. But I think they've done okay.
Lever,
yeah,
I'm hearing Lever's still out, but like I said, we all know May's the key to that back line. How you hold him accountable or what have you. If he starts getting an intercepting marking game going, they will smash us off that half back line.
Yeah, my worry with Melbourne is their running backs. That's what puts the fear of God into me. We don't have a forward line that would run and chase and lock them down. So, yeah, it's going to be funny how we go into that game, what our mindset will be like.
And to be honest, I know I'm being a bit down, a bit negative, but I'm still enjoying watching a game for the kids, to be honest. So when I'm watching for Judson Clark, Sonzi. I'm looking for signs and those things. And, yeah, Samson Ryan and Tyler, that's what I'm really looking at now. I know what Jack will give us and a few others. I'm watching it for the kids because I'm looking at it with a medium to longer term view.
This is now the type of game that we can't afford, and I know we do it almost religiously, but we can't just blast the ball down the line because Jack's going to be one out, and if someone else is on him, May's going to have an absolute field day. So this would be the game that I'd love to see us try and methodically chip our way up the ground, do those little inboard kicks, and don't give May the luxury of being able to just sort of double team Jack and kill an easy contest. But this is where I think Cumberland could become important as well, as that a little lead up player to being able to link up the ground, EJ. But yeah, it's going to be a bit of a doozy. We'll get some tips, including margins. I'm not sure how pretty this is going to look, folks, but you've got to be real sometimes. And yeah, enjoy the game for what it is. It's a game. Hopefully the kids all play well. But EJ, I know you've got your mind on the Bing Tangs, but what margin and who do you think will win this one?
D's by 32.
Goals or points?
I'm a pessimist, but I'm not that much of a pessimist.
Okay.
Points.
All right, CB.
I agree. We've got to keep it real and keep some perspective around this. So I'll say Richmond by 72.
Tiggs?
Yeah, I'm right with EJ here. It's, I don't even know. I think we should even forfeit. But look, to be honest with you, I reckon Richmond by 31.
Richmond
I reckon we'll have a
31.
breakout game. Some of our young kids will click. I reckon it's going to be a great game.
Grok, I have seen you post about doing a live call. I don't know where I'll be kid-wise. Let's reassess that, and I'll come back to you on that comment. A lot of people picking the games free.
If you're doing a live call from Bali, I'm not ruling it out.
Oh, how good would that be? You just poolside. That'd be some great viewing.
EJ and his budgie smugglers. Tune in, folks. You heard it here first.
You thought the dressing gown was good.
Okay. Might bring that out soon, mate.
I would love for us to win by about 10 or 12 points, but I think the D's, they're just too good at the moment. They're going to be bouncing back, and if we can't play any more than a quarter and a half, we're not going to get too close, unfortunately, unless something drastic changes, which we all hope it does. But we'll see how we go. But hopefully we get a good turnout there for Anzac Eve. It's always a pretty special occasion. Make sure you do get there a bit earlier if you are going, so you can pay respects and go through all the formalities that the ground puts on. It's always a very good night. So hopefully we can put up a good performance. Just 2.5 quarters, 3 quarters of good gameplay might be enough. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. But let's just keep a good close eye on the kids. and let's hope for a good performance. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, guys. Much appreciated. EJ, enjoy your time off in Bali. Don't get too sunburnt, I think, first and foremost. But no, enjoy
Sunscreen on the
the
head.
and enjoy the bintangs and the nasi goreng and everything that comes with being in Bali. There you go. You got your hat ready to go.
Good stuff.
And Tiggs, good to have you on board again, mate. Hope you keep feeling better and that the symptoms keep on improving. Always appreciate whenever you're able to get on, given the circumstances. So much love to you for coming on, and hopefully, everything starts to get smoother sailing for you going forward. And CB, always good to have you on as always, mate. Thank you for your analysis and the agenda for tonight. Much appreciated.
All the best, guys.
Yeah, I could go full Karen Corns next week, mate. If we get done badly, I might forget everything I've said tonight and just explode and go full bloodbath for 50 minutes. See what happens.
We'll look forward to it. All right, guys, until next time, stay safe and go Tigers.